What's going on, everyone? So in today's video, having just hit 500 YouTube subscribers, I'm going to be making this small YouTube shop sign. Let's get right into it. So in this tutorial, I'll be using the Onefinity Journeyman machine, my 24-watt JTech laser, the CarveCo Maker Plus software, my references to this YouTube image right here. Downstairs, I have a piece of 1/4-inch birch plywood that I'll be using for this project. Go ahead and plug the dimensions in. It's a 20.5 by 17.5 inch piece of plywood. Now, once I get all these vectors cut out that I'm about to produce, I'm actually only going to be using half of this plywood, and then I'm going to be stacking each item on top of the next. So I'll go ahead and resize this for the sake of the vectors. We'll divide the height by 2, and we'll put it in at 8.75. Go ahead and go up to Bitmaps. We're going to import our YouTube image so that we can get our vectors going here. Open that up. I do have another tutorial on how you can use ChatGPT to produce images to plug into CarveCo so that you can produce vectors from those. If you want to check that out, it's bookmarked right here. Next thing we're going to do with this image is use our Bitmap to vector tool. Click on that. Reduce colors. We want 3 colors in this image: red, white, and black. Click on apply. Next thing we're going to hit, we want to make sure black is our primary color. Click on create vectors. As you can see here, it did create vectors for us for YouTube and around the red box, but it did not get the white triangle. So all we're going to do is click on our secondary color here, which is white, and click on create vectors again. Now you can see we got our triangle there. Now the only vectors that I actually want out of this image are the YouTube text, the red box, and the play button here. So I'm just going to highlight those, hit Control C, and then all I'm going to do is go up here, click on File, New Model, exact same size. We'll go ahead and save this for reference. Okay, now hit Control V, and you have vectors here. Now for this YouTube text, it looks like I actually got this twice, so I'm going to go through here and delete those double vectors real quick. That could cause issues later. You only want a singular vector here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and resize these vectors a little bit, so go ahead and click on your transform tool, and then make sure maintain aspect ratio up here is locked. Take it down just a little bit so I can get a border around it, and then I'm going to recenter this. In order to center it, you have to have these vectors grouped. So go ahead and group those, and center and model. Now we got a dead center YouTube with graphic there. I'm going to do an oval border for this specific project, so I'll go ahead and draw a circle here. Right click to make that a vector. We'll center it in the model, and then go back up to your transform tool again, and we'll make an oval out of this that fits around that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and center that in the model. I do want this YouTube to be a little bit smaller because I'm actually going to make an offset on the oval so I can make a pretty nice frame here for this. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, recenter, make sure our oval's center again. I'm going to resize the initial oval so that I have enough room to get at least a 1/4 inch around the original oval. Center that again. This is perfect. We'll go to our offset tool, outwards and to the right about 1/2 inch. I think we got plenty of room to do that. Go ahead and offset, and that will be our actual border. So the last thing I need to do in here for this is go ahead and add my 500 graphics. So I'm going to take this down even smaller, probably right about there. Go ahead and recenter this. And then I'm going to use the up arrow so that way I keep it centered, and then move it up like so. And I'm going to go to our text tool. Make sure you unselect the YouTube before you click on the text tool, and then create text again. Go in here and drop the 500 or 500 subscribers. I think this is a pretty reasonable size for that, so I'm going to go ahead and click on create. We'll center this, and then I'll use the down arrow key to get it to where I need it to be. It is right about there. That looks pretty good. Now the idea here behind these vectors is that I get these moved over to the laser and cut these out in a manner to where I can paint them before I pop them out of the actual wood. This will help me prevent splatters and all that. I'm really not that good at painting. Okay, so next we need to get these vectors over to the real size of the project piece. So we'll go ahead and copy those over, create a new model, and then to our actual piece of birch, which is 17.5. Go ahead and save this for reference. Okay, go ahead and hit Control V. And here we have transferred our vectors over to our actual size here. Going to need to set these up so that I can cut them out and then stack them on top of each other using glue to fasten them together. So these three vectors here, the YouTube graphic, the 500, and the innermost oval will be my first cut. I'll go ahead and copy those, go ahead and paste them again and move them up here to the top section. When I cut this oval out, it's going to serve as my frame to re-glue the letters back into place after they've been painted on top of the other piece that I'm going to cut out. Okay, so for the base, I'm just going to remove the YouTube 500. I'll make these cuts on the laser specifically for a border around the base piece. Okay, so now that's all that's left to do is get these vectors over to the Lightburn software so I can get them down to my laser. Go ahead and highlight all of your new vectors. Click on Vector, Export. We're going to save it as an SVG. Go ahead and open up your Lightburn software. And we are going to open it up. Go ahead and click on Import up here. And then you're going to have the file that you just saved. For me, it's YouTube signed vectors. Open that up. And there's my vectors from CarveCo. Perfect, perfectly sized. Okay, so at this point, I'm not going to go into the full details of Lightburn. It's going to be a big variable based on your setup. It could be different from my Onefinity to compared to your machine. So I'll just go over the basics. I make sure that the mode is set to line, so that way I'm cutting all of these vectors out rather than filling them. I know that my pass count for my JTech 24 watt is 2 at a speed of 350 at a power of 95. So I know that that's going to cut these letters out nice and crisp for me. I want to make sure that my job origin down here is at the center of the workpiece so that I know how to line up my machine, my machine's X and Y in relation to the piece. Okay, so all that's left now is to save the G-code and get it down to the machine. I currently use OneDrive to do this. I basically save the file on my OneDrive and then I have a laptop downstairs where the machine is at, and I'll go ahead and just simply import it over Wi-Fi into the machine from there. I need to go ahead and mark the center of this plywood so that I can tell my laser where the X and Y is. I did a little bit of work to this frame off camera. When you're gluing your letters in using this frame, you want to make sure that there's nothing for the letters to get caught on when you're pulling the frames off. So I removed all of the jagged edges here that they could potentially get caught on. A little bit goes a long way. You don't want to accidentally glue these pieces back to the frame. That's why it's so important to do the final modifications on that frame, is so that it doesn't cling to these letters and pull them off after you've glued them up. So I'm just going to reset this one. A couple of minor details. And so here's the finished product, guys. This works out really well for those of us that can't stay in the lines with paint. So you just cut it out with your laser, paint it before you mount it back onto the back plate that you cut out with your laser as well. So I think this looks really good. I appreciate you guys subscribing. We'll see you in the next video where I talk about my Onefinity revolution and the new challenges that poses.